Somewhere right now, an AI data center is burning through millions of gallons of water in a single day. That's the same water running through your kitchen tap. And in some of the driest states in America, it's turning into a real fight over who gets to use it. So tech companies are trying something bold, cooling AI servers with the ocean instead. Today, I'll show you exactly how that works and why it's a lot harder than it sounds. Let's get into it. Here's something most people never think about. AI isn't just software. It's a physical machine, and it runs hot. Really hot. Every AI data center is packed with thousands of servers running non-stop. All that computing turns straight into heat. Leave it uncooled, and the chips can fail within hours. The easiest fix is water. Cold water flows past the servers, soaks up the heat, then evaporates out through cooling towers. It works great. It's also incredibly thirsty. Google says its data centers used 31 billion liters of water in a single year, enough to supply an entire small town. And Google is just one company. Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and dozens of AI startups are all building at the same time, often in the exact same states. And those states are already running low on water. Right now, the US is in the middle of the biggest data center building boom in its history, and most of it is landing in places already short on water. Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, all states already fighting over water for farms, cities, and everyday life. The Colorado River supplies 7 states and about 40 million people. It's been shrinking for years. Lake Mead and Lake Powell have both hit record lows. Arizona's groundwater has been dropping for over a decade. Now stack hundreds of new AI data centers on top of that. Each one can burn through millions of gallons a day, every day, for as long as it's running. You can't keep building AI on water that's already running out. So what's the alternative? The ocean. The US has more than 12,000 miles of coastline. Unlike rivers and aquifers, the ocean never runs dry. But there's a catch. Pump raw seawater into a normal cooling system and you'll wreck it fast. Salt corrodes metal. Minerals build into hard, chalky crusts that clog the pipes. Bacteria and algae grow in the warm water and choke the whole system. So before seawater can cool anything, the salt has to come out first. That process is called desalination, and it's a much bigger deal than most people realize. There are 2 ways to actually pull this off. The first boils the water. Seawater gets heated, then pushed through a chain of sealed chambers, each one at a lower pressure than the last. As the pressure drops, some of the water instantly turns to steam. That steam hits cold pipes, turns back into liquid, and drips out as fresh water. It works. It's also incredibly hungry for energy, about 120 kilowatt hours of heat just to make 1,000 liters of fresh water. That's close to what an average US home uses in 4 days just to fill a bathtub. The second skips the boiling entirely. It's called reverse osmosis, or RO. The same idea as the filter under your kitchen sink, just built at a massive scale. Seawater gets pushed through a membrane at extremely high pressure. Water molecules squeeze through, salt gets left behind. RO only needs about 4 to 5 kilowatt hours of electricity per cubic meter, roughly 10 times less energy than the boiling method. That's why RO now dominates desalination worldwide. And this isn't some future concept, it's already running an entire country. Israel gets most of its drinking water this way. More on that in a second. First, here's what this actually costs. Even RO, the cheaper option, isn't cheap. Desalinated water usually runs 50 cents to $1.50 per cubic meter. Regular fresh water, when you can get it, can cost as little as 10 cents. Building a large RO plant costs $1,000 to $2,500 for every 1,000 liters of daily capacity. A plant big enough to serve a real data center hub, producing 100,000 cubic meters a day, could run $100 million to $250 million just to build. And then you have to run it. Electricity alone eats up 35 to 45% of the operating cost. Here's that promise from a minute ago. Israel is 70% desert, and yet today, most of the country's drinking water comes straight from the ocean. 5 massive RO plants line the Mediterranean coast, producing about 600 million cubic meters of water a year, enough to cover 80% of Israel's urban water needs. An entire country, mostly desert, running on ocean water. Saudi Arabia goes even bigger. Their Al Jubail plant is one of the largest desalination sites on Earth, turning over 1.4 million cubic meters of seawater into fresh water every single day. That's no accident. Saudi Arabia also holds the world's largest oil capacity, and oil refineries already come with ports, power plants, and industrial systems that desalination can plug straight into. That last detail matters a lot for what happens next in the US. And here's where it connects. The single biggest cost in desalination is electricity. And some of the biggest data center builders in the US are also pouring billions into solar and wind power. Picture this, a data center built right on the coast, powered by its own solar farm, pulling seawater straight from the ocean, running it through reverse osmosis on cheap solar power, cooling AI servers without touching a single drop of river or groundwater. That's not science fiction. It's the exact model already running in Israel and Saudi Arabia. So which US states are actually set up for this? 2 stand out. Texas has a booming Gulf Coast and one of the fastest growing wind and solar industries in the country. A real shot at building this model from the ground up. California has the Pacific Coast and some of the biggest solar capacity in the US, though strict water regulations could slow things down. Neither state has built this yet, but both already have every piece sitting on the table. Now the honest limits. Desalination only works on the coast. Inland states like Arizona, Nevada, or Utah don't get this option at all. Their water problem needs a completely different fix. There's an environmental cost too. Desalination leaves behind a salty leftover called brine. Dump it straight back into the ocean without treating it, and it can seriously damage marine life near the outflow. This isn't a perfect fix. It's a trade-off. Expensive water and complex engineering in exchange for leaving rivers and aquifers alone. But AI demand keeps climbing, and fresh water in the driest states keeps shrinking. Expect a lot more announcements like this in the next few years. So next time someone tells you AI just lives in the cloud, remind them it's actually sitting in a warehouse, drinking millions of gallons of water a day. This isn't just a chip story or a software story. It's a water story. And how the US solves it will shape where data centers get built next and whose water gets used to build them. If you want to see how much water your own state's data centers are already using, that's coming in my next video. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Drop a comment. Should tech companies be forced to use ocean water instead of fresh water for data centers? I'll read the best ones. See you in the next one.